I don't think AI is here to replace us. Well, industry may try, but what we see from latest news is that it seems to be very unlikely. How do I know this? You've probably seen a lot of articles pretty recently, but some companies do regret replacing their human workers with AI technologies. And one of these companies is Klarna. They replaced a lot of people who worked in customer support. The new AI actually ended up in providing worse customer experience, and it led to less customer satisfaction. And also, sometimes the tickets were taking much longer to resolve them, especially the complicated cases. I like the last portion of this article. Question 1. Why did Klarna fire 700 employees for AI? To automate customer service and cut costs. Question number 2. Is Klarna hiring humans again after AI layoffs? Yes, due to poor service quality and customer complaints. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think AI is that big of a threat necessarily, but what can we do as designers right now is to still learn how to use this tool to the best of our abilities. In some cases, I do think that artificial intelligence may actually be very helpful. And today we will talk about how to bring the most from any AI tool that you're using, because all of them are still prompt-based models. Whatever you put inside of there, this is probably what you're gonna get. And just of that, we can make a conclusion that better communication with the AI system will probably help you get better results from interacting with such system, and then it probably can make you even a better designer because you will have better results on your hands. Right now, there's even a full new career, well, the prompt engineering. We definitely don't need to go like that far in what we do. We can definitely benefit from learning some of the principles onto what is the prompt, how it works, and either anything we can do to improve the ones that we are constantly writing. I personally use AI right now in a lot of HR meetings and some of the ideation phases and a little bit of the discovery. I still have to do a lot of heavy lifting myself, but at least having this tool helping me articulate my own decisions and ideas has been really helpful. How to improve the prompt? Before that, we need to know what actually prompt is. It's a pretty new word in our vocabulary, but I think everybody now knows that it's at least is something that you tell the LLM system and it interprets it and tries to give you the result based on what you just ask it to do. I think we can actually go to Wikipedia to see what the prompt is. You know, the Wikipedia being the most reliable source of all the humanity knowledge ever. Prompt is natural language text describing the task that an AI should perform. A prompt for a text-to-text language model can be a query, a command, or a longer statement including context, instructions, and conversation history. If we continue with our exploration about what prompt is, I will have all the necessary links down in the description box so that you can also read yourself all of these various articles and resources, and some of them I really highly recommend, such as this one, Prompting Guide. I took a lot of inspiration from this guide and learned many new things. So about prompts, the simplest forms of prompts that we can imagine is actually just writing to the AI "the sky is," and the output probably will be blue. However, let's test it on the ChatGPT. The sky is, tell me, blue most of the time, but it goes also pink, orange, and even purple, depending on how soil scatters through the atmosphere. And going back to the basics of prompting from Prompting Guide, they have the continuation of such set example. How can we improve the prompt? We may ask the AI to not just say the sky is, but actually give it some sort of instruction and say, complete the sentence. The sky is, and then the output from their example would be not just the blue, but blue during the day and dark at the night. The system really reads into the prompt just what you wrote. And the more you will know how to create a better prompt, probably the better chances that you will get the more expected result from the LLM, something that you're looking for. I think what also helped me is understanding that a standard prompt has just like the following format of either the question or the instruction. And now we are going to talk about one of the most important things that I think you may grab from this video is the elements of a prompt. And it consists of 4 parts. The first one being an instruction, a specific task or instruction you want the model to perform. Then we give the context, such as historical information or additional context that can steer the model for better results. Then we have the input data, and then we have the output indicator, the type or format of the output. And if you actually go to various libraries of prompt ideas that you may use, for example, as designer, you may notice that they do follow this format. You may sometimes do not have like all the 4 elements per se, but you definitely will have the instruction, the context, and then some sort of output indicator. And let me show you. There is a newsletter by Felix Lee and Avani. It's basically connected to ADP List. This one is a paid subscriber-only edition of AI First Designer by ADP List, but we still can get a preview of some of the examples that they show how to do some better prompting for various stages of the design process. Here's the example of their suggestion how to do prototype to app converter, skip the rebuild, go from prototype to living logic. It has these 3 elements. It has the actual prompt, what we're trying to ask it to do, and this is near the instruction. The specific task of instruction you want the model to perform. In this case, it's transform an existing Figma prototype into a working Figma Make app with preserved navigation and component styling. Then we have a whole section of requirements. I would consider going to our 4-element model that this is probably the context, because it seems to be the additional context that can steer the model to create better results, certainly. And then the last part that we have is here called the output indicator, but here it's called just the output, a complete interactive app cloned from the prototype, a seamless bridge between imagination and execution. Even if you go to various libraries or if you work with AI to generate your own prompts, that just knowing that these 4 elements exist, and later we will discover how to work with each element separately to even improve the flow even more. And you will see that this is the core of this video, learning that there are these 4 elements that will probably significantly improve the outputs you see from these AI models, well, LLM models, again, to be closer to the desired result that you want to receive from these models. How can we iterate on those elements? And from that side, for the instruction, or here we have it as a prompt, usually there will be some sort of verb that you will try to kind of make the anchor for this whole interaction with the AI system. It could be like classify, organize, summarize, order, etc. And just keeping in mind that, are you agreeing with the verb you used in your instruction? Is it what you actually want the LLM to do? For next elements, context, the general advice is that the more precise your context is and the more actual context you include, maybe not necessarily more, but just providing enough context may significantly improve your output. And the last part, but not the least, is the output itself. I have the example from this guide regarding that specific part. You might be interested in learning the concept of prompt engineering. You might try something like, and asking the LLM, explain the concept prompt engineering. Keep the explanation short, only a few sentences, and don't be too descriptive. It's not clear from the prompt above how many sentences to use and what style. You might still somewhat get good responses with the above prompts, but the better prompt would be the specific, concise, and to the point. To improve the previous input that we see here, we can use 2-3 sentences to explain the concept of prompt engineering to a high school student. I like this example. It shows how the system translates our asks. Only a few sentences, it's still too ambiguous. But if I say use 2-3 sentences, it's giving it much more clear data to know what I'm looking for. And don't be too descriptive, right? Maybe I try to say that I don't want to go that deep into the knowledge, but if I share my role or for whom I'm creating such answer, it just gives probably the better context for these LLM models. But we can learn even more things from OpenAI article, best practices from prompt engineering with the OpenAI API. I get it that right now we're talking more about OpenAI, but I still would consider that some of these general advices would work for other systems as well. They have an interesting thing here, and this one I'm afraid might be a little bit too OpenAI specific. However, I still would try it with other models if you use Claude, for example. What they ask and suggest us to do is to visibly separate the instruction and the context. Remember, are 2 out of 4 elements of the prompt. They have the example, summarize the text below as bullet points of the most important points, and then we have some text here. But what they say is better is that summarize the text below as a bullet point list of the most important points, but then we have a new sort of way to present the text. We specifically say, here's the text, and we use, well, 3 quotation marks, and then we'll be able to input some text here. What I find interesting about this is that we can learn more about how to help the system recognize where one thing ended and the next starts from the elements of the prompt, and that we can use either 3 number signs or 3 double quotations marks. And it looks like we'll have to wrap the context, well, in those symbols. Then we have more examples here on articulating the desired output format through examples, something we already talked. And here where we ask, extract the entities mentioned in the text below, extract the following 4 entity types by company names, people names, specific topics, and themes. And what OpenAI recommends us to do is actually to write it additionally in desired format, not only to tell it through this instruction, but also kind of give it an advice or an idea how you would like to see the output. The next advice right after it is the one that we'll spend some time on. So what OpenAI says, start with 0 shot, then few shot. Neither of them worked, then fine-tune. It's not about the bar, it's the techniques of prompting. And this is what we will discuss right now in order to better understand what is the common advice on to how to work with AI in various iterations, because most of prompts are iterative. What is the 0 shot prompt? It's when we don't give any additional context, we basically hit the model with just the instruction, and for most of the bigger models, that actually might work. Let's do just that. We will ask right now the system to categorize this text as positive, neutral, or negative. This is our instruction, and then I entered the text actually using this just recent advice that we just saw from OpenAI. I used the word text and then used 3 double quotation marks at the start and at the end of the text, and I actually entered the description of what the 0 shot prompting is. Let's see if model can, well, perform this and estimate the level of this text as neutral. It provides an objective explanation of 0 shot prompting without expressing any positive or negative sentiments. And this is what 0 shot is, and OpenAI recommends us to start with this perspective. But what if I got the response from the system and I think that, well, it seems not to be working quite like I wanted. I still didn't get the result that I was anticipating. This is where we proceed to the new technique from 0 shot to a few shot. For this explanation, we'll go back to the prompting guide, and while large models demonstrate remarkable 0 shot capabilities, they still fall short on more complex tasks when using the 0 shot setting. Few shot prompting can be used as a technique to enable in-context learning, where we provide demonstrations in the prompt to steer the model. Oh my god, that was so scientific. Basically, a shot is giving an example. We may start with one example, which will be 1 shot prompt.
1 shot.
And we may proceed to add a couple of more if we think that that improves the results. And this is what is called a few shot prompting. But then if you did 0 shot, then 1 shot, then few shot, and you still don't get the quite result that you want, only then we are recommended by the OpenAI to proceed to fine-tune, trying to add maybe some additional context to improve our instruction, or maybe even introducing to other elements of the prompt, right? Maybe we will benefit from introducing the input data if our task is one of that may have the input data, or going back to output formatting and trying to do something there. Maybe the system is getting your prompt, but it's just the presentation of the answer or something that you wish to improve on. We iterated on how we may improve our prompts by knowing about the 4 elements and trying to improve each element separately. Then we just learned about various prompting techniques, but there is also a new wave or just the frameworks to create the better prompts. And one of them is the Clear Path, a framework for enhancing information literacy through prompt engineering. And what it says of the 5 components is that our prompt should be concise, logical, explicit, adaptive, and reflective. Seems like a good framework to be mindful about when you create any type of prompt. Probably the last thing that I want to mention about improving your prompts is sometimes using various libraries and using some ready-to-go decisions, maybe already tested by some other people. And I want to show you a couple of interesting libraries that I found. First of all, the Lovable itself, they have the whole prompt library, and they have example prompts for starting a new project, for UI only changes, for responsiveness, for various app types. I mean, that seems like a very valuable source, and I would definitely play around with that. And what we see, going back to our 4 elements, we have the instruction, we have additional context to instruction, and then yeah, this one is actually just a instruction. We don't have, wow, we can explicitly ask a system do not make any code changes yet. That's very nice to know, because I somehow thought that every interaction should result in a code change, but I think it's actually nice. So that was lovable. Also, there's a huge prompt library by Claude. I think it's not only like that design related or code related as just what we saw what Lovable does. It's still nice to see. Maybe we can track some inspirations from some other fields. We have ethical dilemma navigator, or we have code clarifier, we have interview questions crafter, well, we have brand builder. I'm curious what we have here. We have an instruction such as craft a design brief for holistic brand identity. Then we have some content, probably where we'll have to specify a little bit about our consumers, about the brand itself. And then we have an example of output, so we can even see how that prompt works. And last one but not least, I found this incredible Notion template, and it has so many things. Micro copywriting, usability issue analysis, we have some tips, we have the prompt, and this one actually utilizes, as you can see, you are an UX analyst reviewing better user feedback for an educational app. This is also one of the techniques how you can improve your prompts by basically asking the system to work as a certain type of professional. This is also one of the techniques how you can improve the output. It's your editor here because I forgot to share with you incredible resource, and it's the Gandalf game, where basically you have to talk to AI and try to convince it give you the password. Overall, there are 8 levels, and level 1 to 7 are with increasing difficulty every time, but the final level, number 8, it's actually the level that constantly learns from all previous successful attempts from all of the players. So this one is really tricky, but playing this game really gives you some insight into how should you talk to AI and kinda what it's prone to. So I overall recommend you to play this game. It will take you probably a couple of hours, and probably you will have a very good evening. So I highly recommend you checking out this game, and it's totally free. You don't have to be registered, only if you want to save your results or if you want to appear on leaderboard. As some key takeaways for our today's video is that it's still fine even when you craft the best prompt to get somewhat unexpected results, and every model probably can treat the same prompt differently. Even with the same model, you start a new chat and you utilize the same prompt again and you might get a totally different result. Also with complex scenarios, sometimes it may be very hard where to divide that complex problem into chunks and then ask the AI to work with these chunks, because the more complex problem you have, obviously the harder time AI has to resolve and get you the output that you want the most. Because the LLM, right, that we talk with it in natural language, it's not just us giving a very reliable, unambiguous set of instructions, for example, is when we do encoding, right? One function only means one thing. But with natural language, it's hard to tell what it wants, and to have the system read it in the exact same way as you do. It's the communication thing, same as we have when we talk to our friends or our family. We sometimes may have one thing in mind, and then we say it, but the other person heard it differently, and this is normal. So probably the same applies for working with various LLMs, because we do use the natural language, and it's just not the most precise thing, it's just in its own nature. Even after this video, right, we know a little bit more about prompts and how we can try to improve those. It's still not the game about doing the best result from one shot. You just did the prompt and now you have the best thing. It's normal to experiment. It's normal to try new things. And as I said, I don't think the AI will be replacing us, but we may learn how to work with AI to the best of our ability. And just so you know why AI is not going to replace us, I need to share with you this absolute horrendous case. Give me a moment. Look at this article's title. Deloitte was caught using AI in $290,000 report to help the Australian government crack down on welfare after a researcher flagged hallucinations. The report was originally published on the Australian government's Department of Employment and Workplace Relations website in July. A revised version was quietly published on Friday. That's a pretty recent news, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I don't remember. After Sydney University researcher of health and welfare law Chris Raj said that he alerted media outlets that the report was full of fabricated references. Deloitte reviewed the 237-page report and confirmed some footnotes and references were incorrect, the department said in statement Tuesday. I like how they say incorrect because what I know is that when they resubmitted the report, they did specify without any additional details that, when they created the report, they did use a little bit of help of AI. Oh, this is actually what they said. The revised version of this report includes a disclosure that a generative AI language system, Azure OpenAI, was used in its creation. They also obviously removed all the fabricated content. So yeah, AI is not gonna replace us anytime soon, but learning how to work with it might actually be valuable for us. But just remember, we really need to check anything the AI puts out to us because it still can lie. Thank you for staying with me for this a little bit different video. And for the next one, we will be continuing with our series of learning the AI together.